My daughter hasn't started calling me daddy yet. Maybe it's because I'm always on the go and don't see her much. When my husband and I visited our best friend's new house, her husband, John, said that. I quickly reassured him. It's not like that. I tried chatting with her daughter, but she only stared at me, not uttering a word. I recalled Jean saying she was a quiet one, and it seemed accurate. Lost in thought, I was jolted when Reina's expression changed as she saw the person standing behind me. She darted past me, beaming, "Daddy, let's play!" My heart stopped as I spun around. Reina was hugging not John, but my husband. "Sweetie, your daddy is over here," John said, attempting to bring her to him, but she clung tighter to my husband, tears in her eyes. "No, I want to play with Daddy!" My husband appeared dumbfounded and uneasy. "What's going on, Kev?" Little did I know a surprising revelation awaited us. My name is Helen, and I'm a 33-year-old working at a city hall. I first met my now husband, Kevin, in college. My good friend Jean invited me to a co-ed barbecue, and that's where Kevin and I crossed paths. He was tight with Jean's boyfriend, John, as they'd gone to high school together. "Helen, Kevin's a catch. How about swapping numbers?" suggested Jean's boyfriend. I had a good vibe from Kevin, so we exchanged info. Things progressed from there, and soon we were dating. Jean and John were thrilled for us, and would often go out as a foursome. Throughout college, my memories always have Jean, John, and Kevin in them. Post-grad, I started working at City Hall. Kevin took on a role at his father's law firm, preparing to inherit the business. Jean ventured into fashion, while top student John landed a gig at a trading firm. Our bond remained strong, even after launching our career, often catching up over dinner. Jean and John tied the knot when we were 26, and Kevin and I spoke fondly of them at their reception. A year on, Kevin popped the question, and I was over the moon. We became man and wife. I recall that at the time Jean was expecting, and John couldn't have been happier. Fast forward 5 years, they had a girl, Reina. John's work took them abroad, but Jean and I stayed in touch. His job kept him busy, often overseas. Jean adjusted, focusing on being a full-time mom. As for Kevin and me, half a decade into matrimony, we cherished our quiet existence, though it lacked the spark of our earlier years. One concern loomed. We hadn't been able to conceive. Already 33, I was yearning for a child and growing anxious. One evening, I broached the subject with Kevin. It didn't happen for us again this month. Distracted by a show, he responded, "Oh, really? Should we consider a fertility clinic? You want a family too, right?" "Why rush? Let's just see what happens." "We've been waiting 5 years. I'm concerned." He turned off the TV. "Not this again. I'm not up for a clinic visit." Disheartened, I barely whispered, "But why?" Without answering, he said, "I'm heading to bed," leaving me in the living room, tears welling up. The next week, I sought Jean's advice. Sharing my worries, I told her, "Kevin's not on board with treatments." Over the phone, she responded gently, "That's rough. Have you been tested?" "I have. They said I'm fine." "Sometimes it's just about the right match. Stay strong." Our chat lightened my mood, if only a little. I shifted gears and asked about her daughter, Reina. "Thanks for letting me vent. How's Reina doing? She's 5 now, isn't she?" Yeah, she's good. But we think she might have some developmental challenges. She's not much of a talker. Oh, is that so? But she is my precious girl, no matter what. I bet she is. Has it been 2 years since we last saw each other? I miss you, Jean. To that, she responded with enthusiasm. Guess what? We are having a house built right now. Once it's ready, how about we all meet up? Seriously? That's awesome! Count us in for a housewarming party. Sounds great. Can't wait to see you too. I ended the call after a chat. Catching up with an old friend really boosted my mood. Later that evening, I shared the update with Kevin. I chatted with Jean today. Oh, how's she holding up? She's good, and so is Reina. John's off on yet another extended business trip. He's always buried in work. Kevin's mood seemed to lift just hearing their names. And here's a surprise. They're having a house built. No kidding. With John's taste, it's probably huge. It might be. We talked about catching up at their housewarming once everything is settled. Mid-conversation, Kevin interjected. You know, we should think about getting a place of our own too. I responded. Before a house, I want a baby. We'd need to plan for things like a nursery. His face clouded over. Not this again. It matters to me, Kev. It's on you that we don't have kids. I know I'm fine. His words caught me off guard. What do you mean? I've been checked out, and everything is good on my end. How can you say you're okay when you haven't even been to a clinic? He looked briefly rattled, but then shot back. Whatever the case, our fertility issues, they're on you. If you want kids, maybe step up your game before gripping about it. He quickly finished his beer and made a beeline for the bathroom. His words stunned me into silence, and I sat processing for a bit. Fast forward a month, and Jean told us their house was ready. With a gift in tow, Kevin and I drove about an hour to their impressive new digs. It was even more luxurious than I'd pictured, but I suppose it was within reach given John's earnings. Great to see you, Kevin and Helen. John greeted us. Hey man, back from traveling, John? Sure I am. Just got in yesterday, but I'm off to Europe in a couple of months. The two guys seemed genuinely thrilled to catch up. Entering the living room, I spotted Jean in the kitchen. Congrats on the new place, Jean. Brought you a little something. I handed her our gift, and she replied warmly. Thanks so much. As we talked, a thought struck me. Where's Reina? She's up in her room playing. Like I said before, she's a bit unique. Got it. Mind if I pop in and say hi? Before Jean could reply, John, having overheard, commented with a touch of melancholy. She still doesn't call me Daddy. Maybe it's because I'm always on the go and doesn't see her much. That's not the reason, John. In her eyes, you're the best dad. Trying to reassure him, we were interrupted by the soft patter of little feet. Reina was coming down the stairs. She had grown so much since the last time I'd seen her. Hi, Reina. It's been a while. Do you remember me? I'm Helen, a friend of your mom and dad, I said brightly, but she just stared silently. I recalled Jean saying she was a quiet one, and it seemed accurate. Lost in thought, I was jolted when Reina's expression changed as she saw the person standing behind me. She darted past me, beaming, "Daddy, let's play!" My heart stopped as I spun around. Reina was hugging not John, but my husband. Jean and John looked just as shocked.
"Sweetie, your daddy's over here,"
John said, attempting to bring her to him, but she clung tighter to my husband, tears in her eyes. "No, I want to play with Daddy." My husband appeared dumbfounded and uneasy. "What's going on, Kev?" he responded, trying to brush it off.
"Kids get mixed up, you know. She's just a little one,"
Jean added, laughing it off.
"Yeah, kids can be so random."
"Oh, Reina, they always keep you guessing." All I could do was force a laugh. Later, Reina retreated to watch some TV, and amidst the tension, we ate and soon left. On our way home, I mentioned, "Reina seemed pretty fond of you today, even though she's typically so shy." He looked uncomfortable, then said,
"Kids are unpredictable. It sure was something."
We drove the rest of the way in silence. The next morning, I got a text.
"Helen, thanks for coming by yesterday. We need to talk. Just us."
It was from John. I quickly texted back. "I've been thinking the same thing. See you this evening." We met at a local cafe that night. John was already waiting when I arrived. I sat down across from him.
"Thanks for coming, Helen. I wanted to discuss."
I cut him off. "Kevin and Jean, right?" He nodded slightly.
"Even though I'm often away, I never doubted Jean. But after Raina's daddy moment, it's been eating at me."
"Me too. It's a stretch, but could Reina be Kevin's?" His reaction confirmed my suspicions.
"We need proof. I'll try to get as much proof as I can on my end. Can you handle your side?"
"I'm on board to help figure this out. Where do we start?" A month later, I suggested a trip to Kevin. He settled into the passenger seat as I drove us straight to John and Jean's. As we pulled in, he was visibly confused.
"Why are we here? John's place? What's the deal?"
"Thought we'd drop in for dinner," I said, feigning cheerfulness. When I knocked, Jean's surprised face greeted us. "Helen, Kevin, what's the occasion?" Then John appeared.
"Come in. Reina's with my folks, so she's not here."
He led us to the living room, sitting opposite to my husband with me next to him.
"Helen, why are you sitting with John?"
Kevin asked, bewildered. Smiling, I motioned for him and Jean to sit across from us.
"What's the point of this? It's so unexpected."
As they tried to grasp the situation, John said firmly,
"Let's talk about the two of you and your relationship."
Their expressions said it all. Jean, looking shocked, quickly fired back. "What relationship are you talking about? Kevin is just the husband of my good friend." "Is that so?" I clicked on the voice recorder I held, playing their voices for everyone to hear. "Man, that was close the other day. I didn't see Reina run into you like that coming. Took me by surprise, too."
Luckily, they didn't catch on. Can't even think about what had happened if they realized I was her dad.
"Well, my husband's kind of obvious, so we're good. But let's enjoy today." The recording kept playing their intimate chatter until Jean yelled, "Turn it off!"
"How could you? What is this?"
Kevin was in panic. Staying calm, I replied, "All those overtime days, I put a voice recorder in your car. It played right into my hands." Both of them looked utterly stunned. John passed them a document.
"I also did a DNA test. Reina isn't related to me. Start talking."
After a beat,
they spilled everything. Kevin, envious of John's success and charm, pursued Jean back in college. She was game, seeking some thrill. Being part of a foursome made their secret trysts easier. Jean got pregnant, presenting Raina as John's child. They'd meet secretly, making sure Raina called John Daddy. After hearing it all, John just shook his head.
You two are something else. I'm going to sue you both.
I chimed in. Count me in. I'll see this through, even if it ends up in court. They exchanged nervous looks. Jean finally said, Fine, let's get a divorce. The real family can be happy together. Kevin retorted,
I don't want a barren wife anyway. I have a sweet kid.
At this, I couldn't hold back my laughter. They looked dumbfounded. A real family? A sweet kid? You can't be serious.
What's so funny?
I shook back. Kevin, you're the infertile one. I secretly had a sample from you checked at a clinic. Turns out you can't naturally father a child.
What?
I smirked. So, who's Raina's real dad? Kevin turned a deep shade of red, while Jean turned ashen. They bickered back and forth until John threw them out. In the aftermath, Kevin and I, as well as Jean and John, all went our separate ways in divorce. They racked up debt compensating us. DNA confirmed Raina wasn't Kevin's. Jean stayed mum about the real father, and last I heard, her parents are raising Raina. The identity of Raina's dad remains a mystery. Both Jean and Kevin, now on their own, are hustling to pay off their debts. While they're clearly having a rough go, I can't muster any pity. As for me, life's been good, just me and my peace. John and I, having faced the storm together, occasionally grab a drink as pals. While I can't see us dating, I hope our friendship lasts. My focus now? My work and finding someone genuine.
On a snowy day, with freezing temperatures, I discovered the car battery was dead when I was about to pick up my son James from daycare. So, I had to borrow my husband's car to fetch him. On our way home, James suddenly remarked, "Mom, something's weird with the car." Puzzled, I questioned, "What do you mean?" I could see he was genuinely concerned. Even though everything felt normal to me, he was just adamant. "Just pull over. The car sounds different. I'm scared." Seeing the worry in his eyes, I hesitated for a moment, but then pulled over right before hitting the mountain road. "What's up with the sound? Sounds okay to me." "Can we check the car, Mom?" I figured that showing him everything was okay would put his mind at ease. So I sighed, and we both stepped out. What I saw next was completely unexpected. I'm Naomi, and I'm 35. I'm a working mom living in a rural area. By working, I mean I own an orchard. I took over the family business that my dad used to run when I was in my 20s. Our business, which specializes in high-quality fruits for gifts and also makes related products, is doing really well. The local community respects us, and I've always had good relations with neighboring farmers, leading a good life. My husband, Robert, has an online store that sells agricultural items. He's originally from San Francisco and reached out to my company to include our fruits on his website. That's how we first met. Having grown up in the countryside, city boy Robert was a breath of fresh air. We hit it off and started dating. After a year of a long-distance relationship, out of the blue, he proposed.
Naomi, let's get married.
Ecstatic, I answered, I'm thrilled, but I can't leave my business to move to San Francisco.
No worries. I can work from here. I'll move. So, will you marry me?
Touched by his dedication, I said yes, and we tied the knot. We settled in a house my dad gifted us. A year into our blissful marriage, I discovered I was expecting. With Robert's unwavering support, I had our son. We named him James, and he's now 5. He's a total car enthusiast, always collecting toy cars and watching car clips. I go to the office every day, while Robert handles his website from home. His business has been booming, so we've had a steady income. Work was good, our bond was tight, and our son was flourishing. Everything seemed perfect. But slowly, things began to shift. Citing work commitments, Robert started being away from home more. He used to always be home, but now he'd be out late and gone over weekends, saying it was for work, often leaving James by himself. One day, we had promised James a trip to a motor show he'd been excited about. In the morning, I reminded Robert, "Don't forget, we're taking James to the motor show. Get ready." But scratching his head, he said,
I can't. I've got work.
Frustrated, I snapped, "It's Sunday. What about James?" He argued.
I need to lock in a new supplier. It's for the business. What do you expect?
It's not right for James. Can't it wait? As we bickered, James, who'd been engrossed in his toys, began to tear up. "Dad, aren't we all going today?"
James, I have urgent work.
James cried.
But I wanted us all to go.
Clearly irritated, Robert retorted,
Stop crying about it. Go with your mom.
"You shouldn't talk to him like that." Holding James close, I tried to soothe him. Robert, clearly frustrated, went to his room. "Sweetie, it'll just be you and me at the motor show. We'll be fine." Robert had never been this short with James. What was happening? Nevertheless, I prioritized our son. So, I took him to the motor show. Just us two. On the way back from the motor show, James, who had been a bit grumpy before, lit up with joy seeing his favorite cars, which helped me relax a bit. Watching him snooze with a wary face in the back seat, I decided I needed to have a heart-to-heart with my husband. Pulling into the driveway that evening, I noticed his car was missing. After tucking James into bed, Robert finally came home. "Hey," I said, trying to be cheerful, but he seemed off.
You're still up?
"I wanted to talk about today. You've been putting work first and sidelining the family. It really got to James today."
It's work. What do you want me to do?
Before I could respond, he handed me an envelope. Curious, I asked, "What's this?"
A buddy at an insurance company kept pushing for us to get a policy. I signed us all up. Payments start next month.
Confused, I said, "Don't we already have insurance?"
You can never have too much insurance.
I opened it up to check out the details. This policy is super comprehensive, even for James.
If anything happens to us, it'll be good to have a cushion. It's for James too.
Huh. While I was frustrated he hadn't discussed the insurance with me, I was somewhat comforted that he was considering our family's future. But his attitude didn't get better. In fact, it went downhill. We barely talked. He grew distance from James. Our arguments escalated, and the atmosphere at home became strained. What had caused this shift in him? The uncertainty kept nagging at me. One day, at work, during a break, I sat with Andrea, a new hire from the past year. Trying to make small talk, I asked, "Hey, Andrea, how's the job treating you?" She seemed a bit on edge and replied, "Hi, thanks to you, it's been good so far." I chatted to ease the mood, and out of the blue, she asked, "Your husband's in IT, right?" "Yeah, he runs an e-commerce site for farming goods." "I see." After a brief pause, she ventured, "Do you guys get along?" Caught off guard, I managed to chuckle. "Of course, we're good. Why?" "I've been mulling over marriage and just wondered how it is." She seemed distracted for a moment before diving back into her work. Her comments left me feeling uneasy. Time flew as I juggled work and raising James. The weather shifted and winter hit in full force. One particularly cold morning, despite the chill, I had errands. Like always, I took James to daycare, driving about 30 minutes through some hilly terrain. Later, I parked at our house and headed to work. Finishing up, I stepped outside to a darkening sky and snow beginning to blanket everything. Gotta grab James ASAP, I thought. Back home, Robert was holed up in his room working. When I tried to start my car to retrieve James, it didn't budge. Probably a dead battery. I wonder how that happened. Panicking, I knocked on Robert's door. "I need a hand."
What's up?
I quickly explained to the puzzled husband. "My car is not starting. Maybe a dead battery. Can you pick up James? I'm cutting it close."
Really? I'm swamped right now.
"But he needs to be picked up." He cut me off, smiling.
Take my car then.
"Oh, thank you. You're a lifesaver." I grabbed the keys and hopped into his SUV. Typically, I drive the hilly route, but that day, due to some errands at the post office, I decided to swing through town instead. When I reached the daycare, it was pitch black outside. I said hi to the caregiver and picked up James. As we strolled side by side to the dim parking lot, his eyes sparkled with excitement. "Oh, are we taking Dad's car today?" "Yep, but I'm behind the wheel. You're a big fan of Dad's car, huh?" "Yeah, it's so cool." We playfully bantered back and forth as I strapped him in and started the car. A few minutes into the drive, he suddenly blurted out, "Mom, there's something weird with the car." "Oh, what do you mean?" I could see he was genuinely concerned. Even though everything felt normal to me, he was adamant. "Just pull over. The car sounds different. I'm scared." Seeing the worry in his eyes, I hesitated for a moment, but then pulled over right before hitting the mountain road. "What's up with the sound?" "Sounds okay to me." "The tires sound different, not like usual. Can we check?" Figuring he'd calm down once he saw the tires were just fine, I sighed, and we both hopped out for a look. To my shock, I saw the tires were regular ones, worn to the nub. Driving with these on our snow-covered icy roads was downright dangerous. The thought of driving our usual icy mountain route with these tires sent chills through me. We had been so lucky to get to the daycare without any issues. "Mom, these aren't the tires Dad had on before," he commented, looking up at me with wide eyes. I recalled Robert mentioning he'd switched to winter tires on his car. The pieces clicked together in my mind. Parking the car in a nearby lot, I called for a cab. I made one more call while waiting, and then James and I headed home. Walking in, I saw Robert in the hallway, looking utterly shocked.
"How'd you guys get back?"
His words confirmed my growing suspicions. So, it was him. "James, go to your room until dinner, okay?" I told my son softly, and he hurried upstairs. In the living room, I faced off with Robert. He looked pale and asked, "Why do you look surprised? Was it that shocking to see us return safely?"
"I don't know what you're talking about."
But I cut him off. James noticed the car wasn't right. Thankfully, we avoided potential disaster. And luckily, I didn't drive our usual mountain route to the daycare today.
"What are you even saying?"
he said, playing innocent. My frustration boiled over. Stop playing games. Those worn-out tires you put on the car could have killed us both. He tried to mask his surprise and said,
"What? I don't know anything about that."
Deciding it was time to lay my cards on the table, I snapped. "Oh, really? Then explain this." I thrust my phone screen in front of him. On it were clear pictures of him getting cozy with a younger woman, kissing, holding each other close at some place. The photos even had captions like, "My sweetheart, we'll be tying the knot soon."
"What are these?"
"One of my staff members is acquainted with your girlfriend. Apparently, she posted these on her private social media."
"You've got to be kidding me."
It turned out that Andrea, the young coworker I chatted with recently, was the one I'd reached out to while waiting for the taxi. Our chat had raised some flags, prompting me to seek any information she might have. She hesitated, but then shared that her old school friend was the one dating my husband and has shared these pics online. Robert, looking completely thrown off, muttered,
"I didn't think she'd ever do that."
I pushed him. "Now, spill it. What were you up to?" He finally started talking. The lady at the tire shop, where he'd swapped out the tires, was his side chick. He wanted to be with her, but didn't want the financial burden of alimony. If something happened to James and me, he'd cash in on the life insurance and inherit the business. They had schemed together, putting those worn-out tires on his car and messing with my car's battery, ensuring I'd use his SUV. "So, you even had your eyes on the life insurance and our business. With a desperate expression, Robert pleaded.
Naomi, I'm so sorry. It was a stupid mistake.
Repulsed, I shouted, Are you kidding me? I can never forgive this. The cops already know, and I'm getting a divorce. I don't ever want to see you again, you jerk.
Please, Naomi.
Oh, and I'll let all the local farmers know what you did. I bet they'll think twice before working with your website again. Good luck with that. Right then, the sound of sirens grew closer. I handed him over to the authorities. I'd recorded our entire chat, and it was submitted as evidence. He was convicted and did a stint in jail. The divorce was finalized without a hitch, and I walked away with $90,000 in alimony and our combined savings. Left with nothing, family, money, or a job. I could only guess how Robert would cope post-release. While his mistress avoided jail, the word got out, forcing her to skip town. Rumor has it she's now in the city, living in a shabby apartment, working the late-night scene. I'm in the process of suing her for emotional damage. Meanwhile, I'm still running the business and raising James, with a lot of support and kindness from the community. Lately, James has been saying he wants to work for a car manufacturer when he grows up. I'm all in, doing everything to make that dream a reality. From here on out, it's all about James's happiness and carving out a better future for us.